just me and my guitar.
Hey, what's up guys, Mark back here in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Today I'm going to be showing you how I get my Indian almond leaves ready for the shrimp tanks. Got a huge bag of these Indian almond leaves from Richard from Ponkaroo, who was very kind enough to send these to me to be used, which I very much appreciate. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a couple of these leaves and we're going to bung them in some RO water there, just so we're going to leach the tannins out, okay? I normally put one in each tank. In fact, we'll do a couple of extra ones because I've got quite a lot of shrimp in the system now, so we'll bung those in there. Now what I do is I'm going to let those soak in the water there, as you can see. I'm going to let those soak in there now for probably a good 8 hours or overnight. And now what that's going to do is that's going to release the tannins. If you get these from the shop straight away, especially for your shrimp tanks, if you like clearer water in your shrimp tanks like I do, you can leach out the tannins first. Tannins are really beneficial for your tank, but obviously it's going to discolour the water. It's going to make it like a tea colour, as you're going to see in a few hours time when we skip forward a bit and do a bit of time travel. But until then, these are going to be releasing the tannins. Now the tannins are brilliant for they've got anti-fungicidal properties, they've got antibacterial properties. Siamese fighter breeders have been using them in Southeast Asia and places like that for eons. They've been using them for years and years and years. They condition the water, they get that water just right for them, for where they're from and where their habitat is from naturally, which is you're running small running rivers and things and streams where your leaf litter's continuously falling in, and you get that dark coloured tea water which they live in and they thrive in. And they do say, some of the fighters breeders do say that it actually toughens up their skin and it makes them a little bit more tougher to withstand those fights, and when those males are battling for fighting off their opponents, and they heal a lot quicker as well. And obviously the antifungicidal properties of the leaves as well as in the water, so it aids in their recovery as well. They've been used for other things as well. They've been used for, people have used them for years as well, they've chewed them up and they've drunk the tea for internal parasites. Samoans used them for when they've had a tooth extracted, they used to chew on them, it used to release the tannins, and they used to say it stopped the bleeding in their gums. They've been used all over the world for a wide range of healing properties that they've got. Wound treatments, making up like a little poultice out of it and putting it under a wound dressing, stuff like that. The tannins, like alder cones, very similar sort of tannins and things they release into the water as well. You notice if you put those in, you get that same brown and discoloured water. Now if you don't want that, you do what I do here. You just put these guys in, use my funky aluminum spoon, and you can just move them around and they'll slowly leach that. You can see it's already turning slightly off colour, that water already. I can see the white board underneath is starting to get a little bit of a tanning effect, the colours coming out of them. But that's what I tend to do. I soak them now for maybe 8 to 12, up to 24 hours. It's up to you, because the tannins aren't going to really do much obviously in your shrimp tanks and stuff. They've got the antibacterial properties like I said, but they will discolour the water, and if you don't want that, leach them first, get the tannins out, and then you put them in your tank, and then you'll have a nice clear tank still. Might just get slightly discoloured, but you can always chuck a bit of carbon in there which will take that colour out at a later date. Just put it in a little bag, pop it in the tank, leave it in there for 24 hours, 48 hours, and it will take those colours, it'll take the tannins colour out of the water, and water changes will do that as well. But obviously these leaves for our shrimp, we want to be using these when they start to break down, because that's when the shrimp start getting the benefits from them, is when they soften up in the water, they slowly break down, they create the biofilm, which we know our shrimps love to eat, and you'll see them rasping away with their little claws going and tearing off little bits of it when it starts to break down in the water, and that's going to really, and that'll aid in their health as well. So that's what I do. So what we're going to do now, we're going to come back in about 8 hours time, 8 to 24 hours, and we'll see the difference in the colour of the water. Okay guys? Right, there you go guys, we are the next day and we've left them in overnight, and as you can see now, the colour of that water now looks like the colour of tea, and they've leached out all those beneficial tannins into the water. And now when you put them into your shrimp tanks, you're not going to end up with your crystal reds looking like red and browns instead of whites if you're going to put them in your tank, okay? Because that's how much, I think there's about 6 leaves in there we've put in there, and that's how much tannin has come out. Absolutely loads, and that will really discolour your water up, it really will. Now if you keep other blackwater species of fish, any like the Amazonian fish or your tetras, South American cichlids, anything like that, this is perfect. Indian armour leaves are perfect for them because they come from these regions where you've got a lot of heavy wood in the water, you've got lots of leaf litter dropping into the water, and you get these dark black water looking lakes and rivers where you get your big peacock bass, all those kind of cichlids, your Oscars or ultim angels, things of those nature, even discus and stuff like that. They like this lowered pH water, and it's like you say, it's really beneficial for them with the antibacterial and antifungicidal properties that they actually release into the water. Your fancy name for it is Terminella catappa, which is your Latin name for them, or miracle leaves they're called, ketapang or catapang, all different names of leaves used throughout the world for different reasons. Now what we should do now is take these out. I'm going to get some more RO water, and I'm just going to rinse them through again to make sure all that tannin's leached out from them, and then we can pop a couple into each of the tanks. Okay guys, we put 2 in there now. They look great. We put the oxidator, the DIY oxidator, which we made in the workshop here, in as well, which is working nice. Mr. Ramshorn snail having a good old creep around on there, cleaning it up. Going to do another partial water change here in a few hours time, and as it is at the moment, levels are fine. Like I said before, this is all the media in there was cycled, so it's got a good head start on the old nitrogen cycle as well. What I tend to do as well is put a little bit of cooked shrimp in there, not our shrimps, the ones you buy in Tesco's, and put that in there, let that sink to the bottom, and keep that colony of bacteria which you've already got in there alive as well. Because don't forget, your shrimp tanks that it came from, if you do this, and you do seed quite a lot, there's a colony of bacteria already in that substrate and on the wood and on everything that I've taken out. Now that needs food, so if you take out and you take it, or you deny it the food that it's used to, that bacteria, that colony is going to decrease, and you're not going to have as many bacteria in there, because it'll get to a certain level with the amount of food that you're regularly putting in there. It'll get to that happy medium, and it'll all stay the same. So that's where you want to keep it. So what I tend to do is just drop in a tiny little bit of food, or a little bit of shrimp, or something like that, just a bit of cooked shrimp, just to let it settle on the bottom, and that'll break down, that'll release that ammonia and the nitrates, everything else, phosphates, and everything's going to live off that. Your plants will feed off that, and it will keep that nitrogen cycle going, because I don't like to do any fish cycle. I like to do fishless cycles because I don't like seeing anything getting, it'd be like us breathing in smoke all day. It'd be, toxic fumes. It's not nice. The ammonia burns the gills of fish, and it can't be a pleasant experience for them, so I tend to do it that way. And as you've seen by my systems in there, in the shrimp room, everything's healthy, looking fantastic, and we've got no algae problems or anything like that. And that's how I tend to do my shrimp tanks, and it works well for me. Everyone's got their own ways of doing things, but that's the way I do things, and it works well. Anyway, we put those leaves in there now. The tannins have been leached out. Everything is looking good. Partial water change coming up today. Probably drop it down about 10-15% or something like that, just to put some fresh RO back in there, and we can get some remineralised water now. I'm going to probably put the TDS up to around 1.6, 1.65, which I like to keep my shrimps at, and they seem to do well and thrive and breed well in around that range as well. At around 21 to 22 degrees I tend to keep the tanks at. Some of you guys out there have been asking how Frank's been doing, and there's your answer. He's doing really well. Extremely aggressive as always. Hey buddy, always trying to have a go at me, but that's what they do. Your old Midas, they're very territorial guys, and they'll do anything to protect their little patch. Once they get that territory on the go, they'll protect it at all costs. But he's doing really well. We've just bunged a couple of those Indian almond leaves in there. Hello. And because they'll condition his water up for him as well. I know, look, he always thinks I'm going to come in his tank, see? I'm going to go in your tank. I'm not going to come in your tank and annoy you today. Alright? I won't do it. But I'll give him some food. Because he's such an aggressive fish, you see, I put his food in that. And you put your food... Oh, he hates me for that. Don't you? You hate me for that. Right, let's take the lid off and give him some of his favourite food. I actually feed him the koi food. Here you go, bud. Coming up. He loves the stuff, don't you? He loves it. He loves my fingers as well. Anyway, there's a quick update on Frankie boy there. He's doing really well. And looking stunning, really coloured up lovely. He's orange around his eyes and his fins. And his little tail. Unusual. The old Citronellus. Hey mate. My daughter loves him. Spud loves him. Spud always comes in and has a chat with him in the morning. He comes up and attacks Spud's nose through the glass, which he thinks is hilarious. And I got given something else, which is in that tank there. We've got the Endler tank there, as you can see, with loads of little Endlers in. But we've got 3 fish in that tank there. Just put the rest of the Indian almond leaves in there, so that'll give you a clue what it could be. Drop it in the comment section below what you think it is, guys, alright? Because I'm going to be posting it up. I'll do the next video on what's in this tank, okay? So see if you can guess what's in there. Anyway, let's go and see the Aquascape. We've put one in there as well for the yellow sakuras, and we'll see how they're getting on. But first of all, I better let George in because it's pouring with rain and he wants his breakfast. Shift my little telescope out of the way there. Come on in, you. Good morning. He's having his breakfast. The old koi are out there playing in their pond. But it's a bit of a moody day today in the garden. Not very nice at all. Anyway, let's have a look at these little yellow sakuras in this tank here. All up in the top of the trees. It's like a little lemon tree, look at that. The old subwiser tang there, it's doing well. Won't be long, as you can see already. Since we've made it, it's grabbed hold of the back of the, starting to grow up the back of the wall of the tank. We've got some of the little shrimps here on the top here, having a little play around the filter. That's the sponge filter I put in there, just to stop them going through. And where all that detritus builds up, they like to go in there and keep it clean. But the trees are growing fabulous. They need another trim before long. We've only just done it really, haven't we? But the tank's looking good. Been thinking of having a change around in here. They're not breeding as well in this tank as they were in the shrimp room. but there's still hundreds of them in the shrimp room. So I'm thinking about setting up another tank just for these guys and putting them back in it and putting something else in this tank. I'm not sure what yet. Drop me a message what you think would look nice in here. But the almond leaves in there. We've got lots of little sakuras running around of all ages. That was quite a thick stem. If you've got thick stems on your Indian almond leaves and you want to just chuck a bit of stone on them like I've done there, because down that rib in the middle, it's quite porous in there, and it can keep some air back in there. So you can either run a rolling pin down it on a hard surface, which will squash out that last little bit of air, and it'll sink. But this one was quite a thick one, and it's quite woody still, so it's going to take maybe a few more days to settle before it will actually sink. But I've just put that little bit of stone on it for the time being, just to weigh it down, because I can't have it floating up there and getting sucked onto that, because then we would have problems and floods, and we don't want that. But everything's looking nice and healthy in here. And we got the other tree right up in the corner there. Can't believe how much they've grown already since that last trim we gave them. You can see all those new fronds that have come off. Good stuff. Right. Alright guys, love you all, you're all stars. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, pop back and have a look at some of the older videos. There's loads of them on there. Handy hints, tips and tricks and DIY stuff that you can make to keep the cost down of your shrimp tanks. And as always, you're all stars, look after yourselves, and I'll see you on the next edition of Mark's Aquatics. Bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.